Twice, New York City was under the watch of former police commissioner Bill Bratton.
He saw a lot in his 40-year service to the public and has now written a book all about his experiences.
It's called The Profession, a memoir of community, race, and the arc of policing in America. He joins us this morning. Nice to have you back on Good Day, Commissioner.
Good to be back. It's been a long time.
Can we talk a little bit about some breaking news? Overnight, there was a fatal shooting outside a very popular hotel in Chelsea. It's called The Dream. As you know, shootings are up in New York City. What is going on here? Well,
the bad news is they are up and are probably going to continue going up. The month of May, the department statistics indicate this past May, there were more shootings than any month since the early 1990s. So in some respects, we're back to the bad old days, and that's not a good thing. Shootings and murders both are up. A lot of other crime is down, but as the city starts to open up, I think we'll see some of that crime, some of those crime numbers start going up also. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Why do you think that is happening? We see a big push to get guns off the streets, lots of guns arrests, and yet there's so many shootings and so many murders, crime up so much, as you mentioned. Is it because the police department has, well, they're not feeling good about themselves right now? They're taking a step back because of all, you know, the protests and demonstrations.
In the book, The Profession, written with my co-author, Peter Nobler, we talk a lot about why are things the way they are at the moment. And there are many reasons for that. The virus shut down the courts, and so they have phenomenal backlog. We have bail reform and criminal justice reform by our legislature that went through in 2019 that created a lot of the issues we're now dealing with in terms of the crime that you're talking about. We have a police force locally and nationally that are back on their heels after being effectively attacked for the last 2 years relentlessly and undermined politically in this city and state. And so it's a confluence of all these things. It's a perfect storm in many respects, and we're really being battered by that storm with no relief in sight, unfortunately.
Let's talk about the George Floyd case. All eyes were on that story when it happened last year. You were on the sidelines during that time. How do you think that that case will change the future of policing across the country?
I think it already has. That here in New York, we were already fully engaged in reforming the police department. Just prior to that incident with George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, crime was at all-time lows in the city. Shootings, murders were down 90% from the 90s. Overall crime, 80%. We had neighborhood policing being implemented throughout the city. Summonses were down, arrests were down. The jail population at Rikers and then the state prisons were down dramatically. So we were reforming, and then all of that stopped with the George Floyd murder. And now we have a political campaign in which most of the mayoral candidates really still beating up on the police department, defund the police, reduce the size of the police force at a time of growing crime. So it doesn't make any sense, does it, that with growing crime and disorder, the disorder is what's scaring the hell out of everybody. All the incidents in the subways and in the streets, every newscast that you broadcast is a video of some emotionally disturbed person creating havoc on the streets of the subways. For the next mayor and city council and legislature, they're going on summer hiatus, thank God. We won't have them around for a while. They're going to have an awful lot of work to do. I just worry, are they up to the task?
You write about some of the highlights of your career throughout this 40-year span.
Highlights and lowlights.
Yeah, highlights and lowlights. When you look back at your 2 stints in New York City, can you talk about some of the biggest challenges you faced and how you were sort of able to overcome them?
Yes, I talk about in '94, there was the lack of belief that Mayor Giuliani just been elected, that anything could be done about crime. I had been appointed because of my optimism. We could do something about it. I told Giuliani we'd get it down by 40% in 3 years. When he and I parted ways 27 months later, it was down to 39%. So that was certainly a highlight of that time. That began the crime decline for the next 25 years in the city, carried on by my successors, Safer, Kerrick, and Ray Kelly during his 12 years. And then I came back for 3 more years. In Los Angeles, I talked about basically dealing with the race issues there in a city where the police department had been at war with its black community for 50 years. We had success there. Most recently, we continued that success, as I mentioned, working for de Blasio. So I worked for Giuliani and de Blasio, two totally different personalities, two different political perspectives. But I think was able to succeed with both of them in the sense of the mission to reduce crime and disorder. So I write extensively, Peter and I, in the book about those experiences. It's about leadership. It's about history. Those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. And that's the issue in New York right now. So many of our political leaders are so young, they don't remember the chaos of the 80s and the 90s that I was exposed to. And that's a shame because, again, you don't know your history, you're going to repeat it. And many of them are basically repeating it.
So, Commissioner, you start the book with a gripping, graphic, and emotional story about the assassination of two officers in Brooklyn, Win Jong-Liu and Rafael Ramos, and the heroic efforts to save their lives in the hospital. But sadly, they both passed. And then you and the mayor came to give your condolences to the families of Win Jong-Liu and Rafael Ramos. But you also talk about what happened when the mayor got there. You said, as the mayor made his way past his police, their discontent became audible. I can't say what they were saying to him as he passed them. They turned their back on him. And then you say, why did so many cops hate de Blasio? Why do they still hate him? Why is that, Commissioner?
A number of reasons, which I go into, Peter and I go into great detail in the book about the history in the run-up to the election. Very similar to this election. De Blasio was in 7th place, and on the issue of stop, question, and frisk, he effectively got elected mayor on that issue. And for cops, that was a red-button issue. They felt they had been unfairly maligned by a federal court case, and they felt that Mr. de Blasio winning election on that issue, it basically started a waterfall, a cadence, a constant drumbeat throughout his mayoralty of hostility from the police and their union. And it's something I tried to deal with, I think dealt with somewhat effectively, particularly after the Mama Salou murders, but it continues to this day. It's something that, again, I write extensively about in the book, and whoever the future mayor is would do well to read those chapters in this book so that they don't step on the same landmines that Mayor de Blasio, unfortunately, the minefield he ended up walking into.
So, Commissioner, if you were in charge right now, would you be pushing back with Mayor de Blasio? Would you have more of a say, or is that impossible?
I think in terms of, and let's face it, very friendly with Dermot Shea, his predecessor, my successor, Jimmy O'Neill, and understand the relationships with the mayor. A lot of experiences with mayors, good and bad. In terms of some of the decisions that have been made, some of them have been politically driven, some of them strategically driven because of resource issues, lack of overtime, 2,000 fewer officers. The disbanding of many units, I think I would have fought, as I'm sure Shea and O'Neill have fought, disbanding the homeless outreach unit, disbanding the peddler enforcement unit, stopping the buy and bust activities to deal with this street corner drug trafficking that's so plaguing the whole city, particularly Midtown Manhattan. You can't stop enforcing public safety, quality of life crimes, and that's effectively what's happened in the city. During my 3 years with Mayor de Blasio, he was very supportive of the broken windows concept. He understood it. But over the last couple of years, influenced by COVID, influenced by the huge numbers of people being let out of Rikers and state prison, most of whom end up in the city, many of them into Manhattan. We now have these issues where we have a city that in many respects resembles New York City of the early 1990s.
So would you have put, if you were in charge, would you have pushed back right now? Would you have quit?
It's hard to tell because I'm not privy to conversations with the mayor and Commissioner Shea in the sense of what goes on over at City Hall or over One Police Plaza. That certainly I'm not happy seeing a lot of the work that I put in back in the 90s and then again more recently being undone. Many of those units were created by me. And even on the gun violence issues, that the frustration that Commissioner Shea feels with the prosecutors, as much frustration as there might be with the mayor by many, there should be a lot of frustration with so many of the prosecutors in New York. There used to be a partnership. There used to be a criminal justice system in New York City. That no longer exists, unfortunately.
Former New York City Police Commissioner Bill Bratton. The book is called The Profession. Bill Bratton, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you.
Thank you.